say that people have to visit Africa in general because Africa has a diversity of cultures which actually are very nice to explore. Not only Zanzibar, they have to visit Africa in general.
Salam, hello, and welcome back to Sòrò, sókè. This is a podcast aimed to understand, learn, and demystify lives in Africa and African lives. It's been a hot minute, and I'm so happy to be back in my room with my mic and back with you people. I'm just ready to delve back into Africa and its African lives and everything to do with Africa. So on the 23rd of June, I went on a long awaited holiday to guess where? Drum rolls. Zanzibar, Tanzania. Whoop, whoop. That was my very first time on the African continent, and as you can tell, I was very, very excited for it. Was very much looking forward to it. I don't know why, but I was kind of nervous as well, just because of like expectation, and I've never traveled that far. It was like 12 hours journey. The islands were spectacular, the people were welcoming, and the weather is so warm. It was just lovely, and I went with a group of sisters, Muslim sisters, and everyone was just so lovely. Would definitely recommend, which we'll get into that in a minute. But knowing me, I just couldn't leave without taking something with me.
Hello everyone, my name is Maryam. I am local tour guide living in Zanzibar, Tanzania, one among the islands that form beside Africa continent.
Today, we're speaking louder about tourism, specifically in Zanzibar, Tanzania.
Zanzibar is known as one of Africa's tropical paradise island that offering the world's most beautiful beaches, history, culture around the world. Zanzibar is a very peace country with a very kind and a pole people that every time you are going to miss to be with them. Zanzibar in generally has become one of the most visited destination because of the beaches and the culture and the history that we hold.
Thank you very much, Maryam, for joining us today. Before we get started, please let us know, what does the word pole mean?
The word pole is actually a Swahili word which means slowly. The people in the island are normally the pole people, but sure people. With that typically of word means that Zanzibar people are really humble. Not only being humble, Zanzibar people are too pole, but they are very charming, supporting, helpful people around anyone, if it's a resident of Zanzibar and even non-resident of Zanzibar, because of pole.
Okay. So, please let us know, how important is tourism to Zanzibar and the wider Tanzanian country?
Frankly speaking, it is well known that tourism contributes of national growth in Zanzibar and Tanzania in general. But specifically Zanzibar, people depend on tourism as their main economic activity. Since tourism has provided employment opportunities, but also has able people to establish family settlements that with affordable means and benefit for their life. Since then, tourism become as one of the major independent economic growth here in Zanzibar.
Hmm. And it's not surprising. And while I was doing research for this episode, I saw that tourism has the potential to contribute to economic development and provide employment and financial opportunities. That's known. However, the employment level of local residents within the tourism sector remains low, particularly in managerial positions. So I saw this in a website which I will also link in the description below. What do you think of this?
Frankly speaking, we cannot deny the fact that tourism has become one among the crucial growing sector for most of Zanzibaris here in the island. But what you have said is absolutely the fact that most of these big schemes and projects are never owned by these local Zanzibaris. Meanwhile, we have to say that it has created job opportunities, but not the managerial opportunities here in Zanzibar. This is because most of the people, by the time the introduction of tourism in the island, they lack the knowledge about the tourism, the benefit of it. That's why initially they didn't want to participate in tourism in Zanzibar. Hence, most of those potential areas have been grabbed by foreigners or even our neighbors' country, example Kenya, Uganda, are becoming more and more in managerial sector. It is because of lacking of awareness, but also cultural beliefs here in the island. That's the main causes of it. And also, in addition to that, we can see that these investments, most of them in tourism, especially in accommodation, are not owned by the local people. The owners are foreigners. They have their own people whom they have trust enough. So when they employ them in top managerials, they mostly keep these people who are at the top of it.
Okay, so it's obvious that tourism is very important for a country and its community. But it looks like certain foreigners' countries have taken advantage of this for their benefit. Is there a way for local Zanzibaris to take back ownership and power, or is it too late and there's too much of a cultural shift?
Currently, the government is doing its best in making sure that the local people here in Zanzibar are direct benefited from tourism. For example, they have been established universities, institutes, and colleges that provide diplomas, certificates, and bachelors in tourism management and marketing. Why? This is because they need the future of tourism to be on safe hands of local people, Zanzibaris. Because people once used to say that we cannot employ these Zanzibaris because of they lack education of management in tourism, even they lack expertise in this area. But what government have tried to do is to provide education to its citizens so as they can be employed in any rank in the this in tourism sector. And also, we cannot deny the fact that the people of Zanzibar are pole regarding to the clients that we are serving them are not the pole people. So the culture varies. And I think this will be a great opportunity for Zanzibaris to announce pole tourism in Zanzibar. It will be a great way for people from Western Asia so that they can learn this pole tourism, which shows the authentic of the people of the island. So being pole should not be taken as a challenge, but should be taken as a new opportunity of introducing other type of tourism, which can help a lot of Zanzibaris to fit in this um, in industry of tourism, maybe becoming top managers at hotel. They should own aviation sector, so that it can help them because they fit in a particular thing. This is really funny question, that are we too late? Let's say the fact that we can say yes, we are already too late to serve this. That's why I think education have become a better strategy for the people in the island, so as they can fit in the industry. Because when you see a lot of investment projects here in Zanzibar in tourism are owned by people from abroad rather than being owned by the people in the island. So the best way is just the government has to try to negotiate with these investors to give more opportunities to local Zanzibaris, so as they can work in top management in the industry.
Can you give us an example of what polo tourism would look like?
So when we actually talk about polo tourism, I mean it's typically of tourism that you can experience logically Africa habit, especially coast people habit. They do things kidogo kidogo. We say they are never hurry on time. They do things what they only need to be accomplished. No matter which time it may take, even it will take 1 hour, 2 hour, things are pole here.
Is it only me that's really liking this idea of polo tourism? Like, I just feel like you get the full package of where you're going when you understand the people that live there. Surely you don't just go on holiday to look at the views, because you can just look at that on Google, right? Watch this space. So, as our listeners might know, on this podcast, we like to emphasize on the importance of taking actions. So, do you have some action points that you think the listeners should take home and kind of work on from this podcast? Anything that they should think about, know about?
I will kindly say that people have to visit Africa in general, because Africa has a diversity of cultures which actually are very nice to explore. Not only Zanzibar, they have to visit Africa in general. But I will mostly definitely say that they have to visit Tanzania, because visiting Tanzania is just like you have visited, I can say, half of the world. Why half of the world? Because we hold the best culture. We have among the 7 wonders of the world, including Serengeti, but also we have the leading beach destination in the world and Africa, which is Zanzibar. So visiting Tanzania will be the best, but exploring Africa will be even the more and more of the best, because we have a lot of stuff to explore in Africa. And they can go through different websites that enhance people visiting Africa, but also they can book tours, adventures with the different trusted companies online, so that they can be served well while visiting our countries.
Thank you so much for tuning in once again. And for those newbies, welcome, welcome. I hope you like it here. Make sure you're comfortable. While you're at it, please leave a like, rating, share it with your community, wherever you're listening to this pod. I am just putting this out there, right? If you like to travel to more African countries, if you'd like to really understand the culture, their habits, the community, if you'd like your money to directly help the community, fill in the survey below and let's see what we can make. As usual, a big thank you goes to our guest, Maryam, not only for joining today, but for being a great tour guide. Sòrò Sòkè is an independent production brought to you by yours truly, Zaynob. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.